Yo, what's going on, everybody? This is Mystical. Today, I am bringing you an 11.1 guide for PvP on the hybrid playstyle Mistweaver. This is the more aggressive playstyle where you're going to be pushing in a little bit closer to the action with rushing wind kick, doing damage from pretty close to melee range. You don't have to be melee range, but you'll be pretty close to the fight. And with that said, let's jump right into the video. I want to start off by going over any of major changes that happened to the hybrid build and Mistweaver going to patch 11.1. And there were like 3 nerfs that are gonna affect hybrid build going into this patch. So the first one is that our mastery is nerfed by 10%, and for the hybrid build, mastery is normally your #1 heal. That's because in this expansion they added the crane style, which essentially makes it so your fist weaving talents, your blackout kick, rising sun kick, or rushing wind kick also heal with your mastery. So that is really important. Having it nerfed by 10% is kind of rough. That's just your #1 heal during hybrid is nerfed by 10%, which really isn't fun. The next change is that Resplendent Mist got nerfed as well from, I think, 75, 150% healing to 60, 120% healing. So that is this talent right here, which I feel like it's going to make your burst healing a little bit less. Maybe it feels similar, but you can definitely tell that there is a difference in your overall healing output, which isn't fun. So I think we got a pretty good healing nerf as far as the rushing wind kick build goes. And the final change, I don't want to call it a nerf. It was definitely a buff for PvE, but for PvP, it actually feels like a buff, and that's Chi-Ji. So they reworked Chi-Ji a little bit, where when you Chi-Ji right now on live, you Chi-Ji and rushing wind kick, and you're only going to get 1 stack of Chi-Ji. And when you get to 3 stacks, you get an instant enveloping mist. In the last patch, if you Chi-Ji'd and then rushing wind kicked and it hit 3 people, you instantly got 3 stacks of Chi-Ji. So essentially what they did is they just made it harder to get stacks of Chi-Ji in PvP. And the reason why it's a buff for PvE is because when you blackout kick, you actually get the stacks a lot faster. So for PvE, it's fine, right? Because you're already fist weaving and you're already tiger palming and blackout kicking. The issue is in PvP, you're not doing that. Like you really don't have a whole lot of time to build up charges of your tiger palm for your teachings of monastery, to for your blackout kick, so that you rush your wind kick and then you can blackout kick, get your 3 stacks of Chi-Ji, instant envelop mist easy. So that change makes Mistweaver with rushing wind kick a little bit more annoying, but I still think the healing is there. What they did buff about Chi-Ji is now every time you do damage, you kick up 3 Gust of Mist instead of 1. So you get more mastery healing during Chi-Ji, but you have less instant enveloping mist during Chi-Ji. When and why you want to play hybrid. So first of all, if you just want to be an aggressive healer, play hybrid. Hybrid build is so much fun. Like you can do so much damage playing hybrid just by going in and just cranking them, just rushing wind kick. If someone's by themselves too, if you isolate somebody, you're just doing a full like over 1 million damage to them, single target, and you can do that multiple times. It's crazy. So if you just want to be aggressive, I would highly recommend just play rushing wind kick build. If you're trying to think about like the best times to use it, like me, really good into pet classes. So if you're playing against a BM Hunter, a Demo Warlock, an Holy Death Knight, highly recommend playing rushing wind kick build, because again, rushing wind kick does more damage based on how many targets you hit. And if you do 30% more damage if you're able to hit like 6 pets or 5 pets and an enemy like DPS, 100%. So any pet classes, I would play rushing wind kick. Any class with a silence, I would also recommend playing rushing wind kick into. So most importantly, balanced druids are the main culprit of this. So if you get root beamed, you could still use rushing wind kick while silenced. So if you get root beamed and someone's close enough, you could actually just like kick and do damage to heal, right? So that could keep your team alive while you're stuck in a root beam. Shadow Priest as well, they have silence. Also really good into assassination rogues with Garrote, because the main like pro or the main thing that assassination rogues can do is they can stun you, they can cheap shot you, and then they can like triple Garrote you. And if you're playing a Crackle build, you really can't heal. Like you get locked down. There's so many ways to lock you down, but rushing wind kick, it doesn't matter if you're silenced, because you could still kick while your Garrote's silenced. So keep that in mind. Those are really important ways to utilize rushing wind kick. I would highly recommend playing it in those situations. Or if you simply want to do the most damage, probably maybe not Prez. Prez can probably do more damage. Maybe Disc Priest can do more damage too. But maybe if you want to do like some of the highest damage as a healer, play rushing one kick. I'm going to start with the races just because I get asked this a lot, and I'm going to start with Alliance first. So Alliance has quite a few options. It really mostly depends on the meta for Alliance because there's so many different races with so many different ratios that are good in different situations. So I'm going to give you the top situations where you could swap between them. So first of all, overall, Night Elf is probably the best Alliance race. This has Shadow Meld. It gives you a lot of options. Shadow Meld allows you to drop combat so you can drink instantly. You know, you can mount up if you're in BG Blitz, or even if you're in Arena, you can Shadow Meld, mount up, and run away. But most of the time, you're going to be using Shadow Meld to drink if you're running out of mana, or to avoid CC. So you could Shadow Meld, avoid CC like a polycast on you. So that's really, really good. So Shadow Meld overall is probably the best race with Night Elf. Outside of that, you actually do have a few options. If Balance Druids are just insanely overpowered, you could play Gnome. So you get Escape Artist on a 1 minute cooldown, which gets rid of any Roots or Snares on you. This will completely negate Root Beam goes on you, which is amazing. So if Boomies are just incredibly strong and they're not getting changed anytime soon, Gnome is a really good option. You could also play Dwarf or Dark Iron Dwarf if Feral or, you know, Affliction Warlock is really good. Also really good versus DKs for their Strangulate Silence. So this is a good option. You get, I think, Fireblood and Stoneform, I believe, are the two races from these two. And that just dispels all the curses, bleeds on you. It's really, really, really good, actually. So these are really good. Again, DKs, Ferals, Affy Warlocks, stuff like that with a bunch of bleeds. Assassination Rogue gets rid of Deathmark, which is amazing. Gets rid of Feral Frenzy from Feral Druids, which is really good. I've wanted to play Draenei for a little bit, but I don't think it's good enough. They did buff the cooldown. It's now a 2 minute cooldown on their racial. I think it's lighter than Naru. It's decent. It's like, what, 25% of your health, so it could be good with Fort Brew, but I don't think it's good enough for like a main race. You could play as like an alt, but those are the main races that you're going to play in Alliance. You got Night Elf, probably number 1, Gnome if Boomy's good, and then Dwarf, Dark Iron Dwarf if you just want to dispel bleeds or poisons or curses on you. Horde side, you don't have any options. You're Undead. That's pretty much it. I would actually argue that Undead is the best race for Mistweaver overall. So if you're looking for the absolute best race for Arena or Solo Shuffle, I would definitely say that Undead is probably the best race. Will the Forsaken is a really, really good ability to have. It allows you to get out of fears, charms, and sleeps effects. So really good versus evokers. Because imagine a situation where an evoker gets an oppressing roar on you into a sleepwalk. So it's an 8-second sleepwalk. Instead of having to trade your trinket, you could just use your Undead racial. Right, so that's, and then you can save your trinket for the next CC chain on you, which is really, really good. Obviously, really good versus warriors with intimidating shout. Really good versus warlocks because they have fear as well, mind controls, so stuff like that. I just think overall, I honestly would say that Undead is better than Night Elf. I really would, unless Mistweaver has like super bad mana issues this patch because we did get a Mana Tea nerf. I don't think we will. I think Undead will be the best race to play. So that's pretty much my opinion. As far as other Horde races, there really aren't any worth talking about. You could go Orc for hardiness, but again, that's been nerfed for a little bit now. And I've tried all these other races. They're just not nearly good enough. So I think if you want the overall best race, definitely Undead. All right, let's talk about gear / stats for a little bit here. So the stats you want to go are Versatility, Mastery, Haste, Crit are the primary stats you want. Mastery is really, really good for Mistweaver. Even though it just got nerfed and Resplendent Mist, which is another Mastery talent, got nerfed, it's still really good. So what Mistweaver Mastery is, essentially, I just want to explain it just so you understand why it's so good. Pretty much what it is you get a second heal every time you use one of your main heals right here. So whenever you use Renewing Mist, Enveloping Mist, Rising Sun Kick, Expel Harm, Restore, Shayloon's Gift, and Vivify, you get a second heal that instantly heals the target, and you have a 30% chance to do 120% more healing with it from the Resplendent Mist talent here. So again, it's not something you have to think about, which is really, really good, but just keep that in mind. You have your strong heals, and then on top of that, you also get mastery healing on as well. So it's really, really good. I highly recommend stacking mastery. But with that said, you do want a little bit of haste. All right, don't go full mastery, or don't go 100% mastery and then forget that you actually need some haste with it. So I would say anywhere between, like, I don't even know. I would say 15% haste is normally good enough, pretty much. So I would recommend going probably 15% haste and then the rest into versatility and mastery. As far as tier sets go, so this is our tier set. Our 2 set is your healing spells have a chance to apply insurance to your target that heals them for 329k over 15 seconds. Insurance is consumed if an ally drops below 40% health to heal them for 175,000, which is not bad. It's not terrible. Our 4 set is cast Renewing Mist applies insurance for 6 seconds. The healing of insurance is increased by up to 50% in proportion to the coverage Renewing Mist has on its allies. So pretty much just Renewing Mist healing buff, which is great. That buffs insurance, which is fine too. So it's just an extra hot, which is pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. These are nerfed by 50% in PvP though, so keep that in mind. So the healing, you can see the healing got hella nerfed. So by the way, we're gonna have like 14 million health pools, and this is gonna heal for 127k. So not ideal. And then as far as do we want tier set, honestly, the stats on the gear are so bad. I honestly consider not even going 2 set. The 2 set is probably decent, so I would probably go like, let me see, I'd probably go the gloves for the haste verse and the helm for haste mastery, because that is a ton of mastery. Oh my god. That is an insane amount of mastery. I love the helm. So yeah, I would probably go helm and gloves. If you want verse, you could probably go legs, but you know me, I'm gonna drop a little verse for some extra mastery stats. So you know what I mean? So I'm gonna definitely go helm, gloves. I really don't even think the 2 set is even that worth it. I'll definitely keep a pinned comment updating everyone on what I'm playing, but gonna be honest, the stats on the gear are terrible. Crit verse, haste verse is good. Crit haste, like those are like our 2 least favorite stats, which is a little unfortunate. But yeah, 2 set might be worth it with the insurance, but outside of that, I don't think the 4 set's worth it. All right, next up, let's talk about monk talents, and I will try to point out any flex talents there are that you can move around. But I feel like for hybrid, you really can't move around a whole lot of things. So first of all, of course you're gonna get your Soothing Mist. Soothing Mist is pretty much just you have a cast time for Enveloping Mist and your Vivify. And what Soothing Mist does is it pretty much makes it instant. You still have to channel the Soothing Mist, so you can't get kicked on it, but it makes those spells instant. You're going to go Vivacious Vivification. This makes it so your next Vivify is instant, and it does 20% more healing. And I just want to point out, like I mentioned in the Crackle video, this is based on server time. So right now, I used Vivacious, and then I have another buff right there. That's a weak aura. I have them all listed in the description, so just keep that in mind. It's based off of like the server time, not when you actually press it. But for this build, you're actually going to go for damage. So you're going to go for Fast Feet, which increases the damage of your Rising Sun Kick by 70%. Obviously, you want that. Anytime I mention Rising Sun Kick in a talent or an ability, it also affects Rushing Wind Kick. So also remember that. Detox, which is just dispelling poisons and diseases. Ancient Arts reduces the cooldown of paralysis, and Leg Sweep, which is really good. Port, Ferocity of Zhuan, which increases all damage dealt by 2%. This is just good because most of your healing is going to come from your damage. Everything else is just pretty concrete. Down here in the bottom left-hand side, you have Save Them All, which is when you heal an ally below 35% health, you get 10% more healing for the next 4 seconds, which is great. Chi Proficiency, magic damage done increased by 4%, healing done increased by 4%, so that's great for best of both worlds. Lighter Than Air, I like, but a lot of people don't. So this is one of those flex talents where if you don't like it, you could actually move it. There's a few places that you can move it. I would recommend maybe you could put it into the mobility, so you could reduce snare durations on you, or you can make it so every 30 seconds, a snare effect on you can be removed from roll or chi torpedo. That's really good, especially since you're going to be like pretty close to the fight. You're going to be slowed quite often, so you can definitely remove Lighter Than Air if you don't like it. That's completely fine. I love it. Flow of Chi gives you a different bonus effect based on your current health. So above 90% health, you get movement speed increase, which is really good. Between 90% and 35%, damage taken is reduced by 5%. So it's just like a mini wall, which is great. And then below 35% health, your healing received is increased by 10%. This does stack with Save Them All. So if you drop below 35% health and you're the one being targeted, you get a good amount of healing increase, which is really, really good. So as far as flex talents go, I would say, so here's what I do. I'm going to tell you what I do. Improved Detox is a flex talent for me because not every comp has a poison or disease. So normally I have 2 different builds. Usually I have a hybrid with Detox and a hybrid with no Detox. That's just me. I feel like I don't need it. And it frees up a talent, which is great. You could put this talent pretty much anywhere. If you want to slow, you can put it in Crash Momentum or Disable. You can put it into your mobility with quick-footed or swift art, which is great. Personally, I really like Clash. So a lot of the times I'm gonna, you know me, I'm gonna play Clash. I really am. I love Clash a lot. I think it's really good. Really good way to interrupt spells, move around the map pretty much. But if you don't want that, that's fine too. You could just, again, put it in the slows, put it in the quick-footed, put it in the swift art. And if you don't like lighter than air, you can also drop that as well. So a lot of places to put it. You could also put in Piece of Prosperity, which is great as well. But everything else is pretty much set in stone, right? Like every other talent, I would say, has a purpose and that you kind of need for the hybrid build. So I wouldn't move anything else. But again, if you don't like lighter than air and you're not queuing into something that has poisons or diseases, I would drop those talents for something else. Next up are the hybrid talents for the Mistweaver side. Now, I'm not gonna lie, this has not changed since last patch. I have not moved a single talent. I messed around a little bit with Shaylun's Gift. It's decent. It's just really hard to get to for hybrid because I think you need everything in the bottom row here to make it work. So I'm gonna work from the top to the bottom and kind of explain what's going on. Envelop Mist, your best hot. It's one of your best hots. When you put it on somebody, it increases the healing they take from you by 40% from your other spells, which is fantastic. I'll talk about on Modifiers later in a section, but just know that Mistweaver is pretty much all about your healing modifiers. Thunder Focus Tea, I'll have a section for this too, but this just empowers a spell, and then when you play it with Focus Thunder, it empowers 2 spells, which is really good. Grain Style is the bread and butter of this build. This is what made Fist Weaving be able to use Mastery, and this is really, really good. So Rising Sun Kick now kicks up a Gust of Mist to heal 2 allies within 40 yards. It also affects Spinning Crane Kick and Blackout Kick, which is great, but in PvP, you're really not Spinning Crane Kicking or Blackout Kicking too much. You're pretty much just Rising Sun Kicking or Rushing Wind Kicking. So Crane Style really helps. That's why you're going to be using Mastery as one of your main stats, which is really, really good. Common Coalescence, increase the absorption of Life Cocoon. Life Cocoon is pretty much your main cooldown for keeping your team alive. Really, really good. It's just a big absorption shield. These just reduce the cooldown and put hots on there. Restoral / Revival. I get asked this a lot. Restoral is my go-to 100% of the time, and not even 99% of the time. I use this 100% of the time because you could use it while stunned. They heavily nerfed Revival going into the War Within, so it no longer dispels all harmful magical effects on your teammates and yourself. It only dispels 3 harmful magic effects. So there's a chance where, it doesn't even dispel the important debuffs that you need. You also cannot use this while stunned. So I highly recommend Restoral pretty much every single game, especially in combination with Peace Weaver, where I'll talk about in the next section. But Restoral, being able to use it while stunned, being able to immune CC while stunned with Peace Weaver is just so important. There are times where maybe I try Revival and then I completely regret it because one stun, I could have immune CC, I could have immune damage while stunned, and now I have to Trinket or I'm falling behind, I have to use other cooldowns. So highly recommend Restoral pretty much every single game. Chi-Ji, this is your main cooldown outside of Life Cocoon. You're going to be rotating Life Cocoon and Chi-Ji quite often. Chi-Ji is, you summon her, and all of your damage, basically your Blackout Kick, Rising Sun Kick, and Spinning Crane Kick, give you a stack of Chi-Ji, and at 3 stacks, you get an instant Enveloping Mist. And that costs no mana. You are also immune to movement and parry effects, so you can't be slowed or rooted, which is really, really helpful when you're playing hybrid build. These talents just buff it. This gives you an extra modifier when you use Envelop Mist on somebody, and then this reduces the cooldown of Chi-Ji by 1 minute, but makes its duration 12 seconds. I really, really like Jade Bond. I cannot stress this enough. I love Jade Bond so much. I love Chi Cocoons. I love that it buffs Chi Cocoons. I think Jade Bond is going to be used in BG Blitz. I don't think in Arena you want it. I think you need to get the Celestials. You need the 1 minute cooldown to rotate with your other cooldowns. Otherwise, you just have gaps in your cooldowns that you can't rotate, and it sucks. It really does. In addition to all this, Rushing Wind Kick is another piece of the puzzle for the hybrid build. So this right here is amazing. So what this is this replaces Rising Sun Kick. You kick in a cone in front of you, a 25-yard cone. So keep that in mind. You have a 25-yard cone in front of you, and any damage you deal is split between how many people you hit. So usually baseline, I'm just going to say for an example, it's 1,000,000 damage. If you hit 2 enemies, it's going to hit both of them for 500,000, right? Because that equals 2 times 500,000 is 1,000,000. But the healing doesn't change. You still did 1,000,000 damage that gets converted to healing. And then you also get a buff that increases your Renewing Mist healing by 150% for 4 seconds after that. And then also the more enemies that you hit with it, the more damage you do, and the more damage you do, the more healing you do. And then the last 2 talents here, you have Peaceful Mending, which is another modifier where allies targeted by Soothing Mist receive 40% more healing from your Envelop Mist and Renewing Mist, which is really, really important. That's like so good for when you don't have time to cast. And then Rising Mist is another, it's not as like hyped up as other talents, but this is so important. So Rising Sun Kick, which means Rushing Wind Kick, heals all allies with Renewing Mist and Envelop Mist and extends those effects by 4 seconds up to 100% of their original duration. So I can Enveloping Mist myself here, right? You can see the duration is 5 seconds. I Rushing Wind Kick, and it's 8 seconds again. So really, really important to always have your hots out before you kick. Your Renewing Mist and Envelop Mist are so vital to your rotation. And then being able to kick after that to get value out of the heal. First of all, the heal from Rising Mist. But more importantly, you extend the duration. So you don't have to cast as much. You save mana, and it's so much healing. So really, really important talent here from Rising Mist. PvP talents are really easy for hybrid. I play these 3 talents about 90% of the time, I would say. So the first one is Peaceweaver, which restores cooldown is reduced by 16%, which is okay. But more importantly is it provides immunity to magical damage and harmful effects for 2 seconds. So like I mentioned before during the Restore Revival, if I use Restore while I'm stunned, I can immune CC on me, like Polymorph, Cyclone, Repentance, anything like that, anything magical I can immune. I could also immune damage. So if you're stunned and you see like Chaos Bolt coming in hot, you can immune Chaos Bolt damage. You can immune, any mage damage, any magical damage, you can completely immune. So keep that in mind. It's such a good talent. Really, really good. I play this 100% of my games. The next one is Zen Spheres, where you can form a Sphere of Hope or Despair above the target, and you can only have one of each. So Sphere of Hope you can use on an ally. It has a small initial heal, and then increases the healing you do to them by 15%. It's amazing. This is another modifier, by the way. I'm going to go have a section of just modifiers. And then you have Sphere of Despair. So it has, again, a small initial damage, and then the target deals 3% less damage and takes 10% increased damage from all sources. So you could put Sphere of Despair on an ally to do 15% more healing, which is right here, which is fantastic, by the way. This can be purged, so keep that in mind. You might have to reapply it a few times. And then you also have Sphere of Despair, which makes it so the target does 3% less damage and takes 10% more damage from you. And remember what I said, Rushing Wind Kick, the healing is based off the damage it does. So if I am doing 10% more damage, that means my Rushing Wind Kicks are 10% stronger. So keep that in mind. It's a really important modifier. Also, 10% damage from all sources includes your teammates. So it's really, really good. I have macros for it. I'll put it in the macro section that are just really, really important for hybrid build. Next up is, I feel like I consider this like the flex talent right here for PvP talents, Eminence. So this allows you to port while stunned. This is really good if you're playing a comp where there aren't many peels, or they can't keep you alive while stunned, or you're using it mostly to avoid CC. So against RMP, Eminence is really good just because you can port while cheap shotted or kidney shotted. They can't kill you. They're harder to CC you, which is really good. Now, as far as any other talents go, it's kind of tough. I feel like these 3 are really core. You could drop like Eminence for Grapple Weapon if you really wanted to, or if you're really scared, you could drop it for Zen Focus T. So Zen Focus T gives you you're immune to interrupts for 5 seconds, right? So Thunder Focus T, you get Zen Focus T, and now you're immune to silence interrupts for 5 seconds. It's good. I don't find myself casting that much when I'm playing a hybrid. I mean, if I don't have my Rushing Wind Kick, I'll have my Soothing Mist, Enveloping Mist, or Soothing Mist Vivify. But I'm not spam casting. If you're spam casting, you're doing something wrong, or your team is really far behind, right? Those are the situations. If I'm playing into like Affylock, I don't know. What's another range? Like if I'm playing into like Affylock or Destrolock Mage and I'm the only caster on my team, right? If I'm playing with 2 melee and I'm playing into 2 casters, I'll play Zen Focus T because I'm the only person that can get kicked. Sure, that's completely fine. But if I'm playing with another caster or something like that, or 2, then there's a good chance I'm not going to play Zen Focus T. Grapple Weapon is the other one. So this is just a disarm. 20-yard range, 45-second cooldown. Really good versus warriors, DKs, rogues, rets. Yeah, you could definitely play this. I would for sure play Grapple Weapon. Would I drop Eminence for it? you'd have to choose between Eminence and Zen Spheres. I think Zen Spheres is really, honestly, too valuable, really, to give up. But you could, you know, if you want to play more defensive, completely fine. But I'm just saying, these two normally for me are a lock. Peaceweaver and Zen Spheres, they're just a lock for me. And then I'm just rotating this last one between Grapple Weapon, Zen Focus Tea, or Eminence. For hero talents, I think it's a no-brainer, but Master of Harmony is just the best. I want to play Conduit of the Celestials. Like, I love Conduit of the Celestials. I love the theme of it. I love everything about it. The thing is, Master of Harmony has double Thunder Focus Tea. That's it. You get 2 charges of Thunder Focus Tea. You can't compete with it. You really can't compete with it. For this hero talent tree, your healing and damage pretty much gives you a buff. And then every time you use Thunder Focus Tea, you like pull from the healing you stored from that buff, and it can be converted to healing. So it's really, really good. There's probably some ways to min-max it. I've tried to figure out ways to min-max it. There aren't too many things. Purified Spirit, when Aspect of Harmony ends, any remaining vitality that you didn't like pull from your buff is just split among your teammates, which is really good. Essentially, you're really choosing this tree for the Endless Drought. So Thunder Focus Tea has 1 additional charge. That's it. You know, Thunder Focus Tea is such a strong cooldown, and I'll have a whole section going over it, but being able to Thunder Focus Tea and like have a shorter cooldown on my rushing wind kick and you could do that multiple times, is just amazing. So it's unfortunate because I really do like Conduit of the Celestials and I love the theme of it. I really do. And I think it could be good. They just buffed the damage of Celestial Conduit, which is nice. I just don't think it stands a chance versus Master of Harmony. Before I talk about the rotation, I want to talk about Mistweaver modifiers, because I get this question a lot. Like, why is my rushing wind kick not healing? And the thing about rushing wind kick is it does good damage. It does decent healing, but it does outrageous amounts of healing when you have all of your buffs on your teammates. So I'm going to go over every single modifier that Mistweavers have and hopefully help you get a better understanding of where the healings come from. So first of all, Renewing Mist, spoke about it, applies Chi Harmony. For the first 8 seconds, the Renewing Mist is going to look like glittery, and that's because you have Chi Harmony on whoever has, you know, the buff. And for the first 8 seconds, your teammate's going to take 25% more healing from you. So if I go to the PvP target dummy, 25% more healing received from all healing sources, by the way. So that's just a flat 25% healing. Fantastic. Next up, Zen Spheres. So Zen Spheres is a PvP talent. When I put it on a teammate or myself, they take 15% more healing. Okay, so Sphere of Hope, Renewing Mist with Chi Harmony, right? Next up, Enveloping Mist. So Enveloping Mist puts a hot on your teammate, and then healing received from the monk increased by 40%. You see where we're going here? So 40% healing from Enveloping Mist, 25% the first 8 seconds of Renewing Mist, 15% from Zen Spheres. We also have another modifier from Peaceful Mending. So Peaceful Mending, it doesn't affect like your rushing wind kick healing, but it affects your Enveloping Mist and your Renewing Mist effects. One thing I want to note, and this is a very niche thing, Blizzard has the tendency to say Soothing Mist, and then you see all these talents with Soothing Mist, and then has a tendency to not specify which Soothing Mist it is, because your statue has a Soothing Mist and you have a Soothing Mist. For Peaceful Mending, this also affects your statue healing. So if you have a target with statue healing them, right, Enveloping Mist, because this is Soothing Misting me, my Enveloping Mist and my Renewing Mist are going to heal for more. All right, so just keep that in mind. This doesn't directly affect Rushing Wind Kick, but it does affect your overall healing, which is really important. The next modifier is actually Rushing Wind Kick gives you 150% Renewing Mist healing for 4 seconds after you press it. So a lot of the times what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to Rushing Wind Kick and then try to throw a Renewing Mist out, especially if I have 2 charges. Right, so that again, this doesn't affect like Rushing Wind Kick healing. It affects your Renewing Mist healing, but you're able to just extend that, which is really good. And finally, last but not least, Chi does have the Celestial Harmony talent with it, and that makes it so whenever you use Enveloping Mist on somebody during Chi, they get 10% more healing. So if I Chi and I throw Enveloping Mist out, I get the Enveloping Breath, which makes it so healing received is increased by 10%. So you can see how all of these modifiers can just make it so you do so much healing from your Rushing Wind Kick. And I'm going to talk about the rotations. Of course, I'll talk about the rotations, but just keep that in mind. The reason, if you just go in, right, your teammate's dying, you have no hots on them, and you just go in for a rushing wind kick, yeah, you're not gonna do any healing. You're gonna do very little healing. It's gonna feel like it doesn't do anything. But if you if you feel like damage is coming, you get renewing mist out, you get envelop mist out, and you get your Zen Sphere out, and you go for a Thunder Focus T rushing wind kick, that's when you're going to see the healing numbers go like insane, because you have all your modifiers on your teammate, you're doing damage, right? And then especially if you have like the Sphere of Despair out, right? You're doing a little bit 10% more healing, and if you're hitting multiple targets, because remember, rushing wind kick does more damage when it hits more targets. That's when you're going to be kind of blown away by how much healing like actually rushing wind kick can do. All right, let's talk about the basic healing rotation, just to kind of start you off, try to get you hopefully a better understanding of your spells, get comfortable with your spells. So of course, like I've mentioned, renewing mist is really important. That's one of your modifiers. If you want to know about our modifiers, just go to the previous section. But that's just really important. You're going to have your hots out, your renewing mist. It's pretty much the same rotation as your other like normal crackle, but instead of crackling, you're weaving in rushing wind kicks. So you're going to use your renewing mist, enveloping mist if you have to, and then you're going to rushing wind kick. And ideally, what you want to do is you want to rushing wind kick into as many enemies as possible. It does not need to be players. So what you'll see me do a lot is if I'm playing against like a BM hunter or a Demo warlock who's playing 40 yards away, but they have 8 pets, you don't need to hit the warlock. You don't need to hit the hunter. I will literally be healing my teammate here. Like, let's just say, for example, I have the enemy, like this is like the warlock right here, and this is my teammate, and then their pets are right here. I will literally put my hots up, turn to the pets, and then kick into the pets and completely ignore. There's games I've won where I don't even hit them, right? So what your goal is to get your modifiers out, your renewing mist, envelop mist, Zen Sphere, and then hit whoever you can. So go for a rushing wind kick. After that, you have your Vivify. So always keep track of your Vivacious Vivification. Really important passive, because that is also affected by all your modifiers, right? That is really, really, really good, by the way. It's really important. So get your modifiers out, and then just after you kick, normally if they need a little bit more heal, I'll just go for Vivify. And 9 times out of 10, they will be topped. That 1 out of 10 time, I'm probably going to use Thunder Focus T with a kick, which I'll talk about in a little bit. But that's the basic rotation. Keep your hots out, your renewing mist, your Zen Sphere, your enveloping mist when you can, and go for a rushing wind kick. If you want to start to get a little fancy, add a mana tea. So mana tea, what it does is whenever you spend mana, you get a stack of mana tea, and for each stack, it restores some mana back. But more importantly, it will give you a buff that reduces reduces the mana cost of your spells by 30%. And that duration is for each stack. So if I consume 10 stacks of mana tea right now, I'm going to get 10 stacks of the buff, which is really, really good. So normally I'll mana tea and then put my hots out, because envelop mist does cost a lot of mana. So mana tea, renewing mist, envelop mist, put out my Zen Sphere, and then go for a kick. I want to talk about Thunder Focus Tea, because I've mentioned it a few times. So this empowers 2 spells, and I'm going to go over all of them, but I'm going to tell you which ones you're only going to be focusing on 2 of them. So the first one is Enveloping Mist will immediately heal, and it's instant. So usually Enveloping Mist has a cast time, and then with Soothing Mist, it's technically instant. But with Thunder Focus Tea, you can Enveloping Mist, and it's instant. So there's no casting at all. There's no channel or anything, which is really important. Renewing Mist duration increased by 10 seconds. Don't worry about this. I don't use it that often unless I'm in BG Blitz. Vivify, no mana cost. You can use this for Vivify sometimes, but most of the time I'm using it on the next one, which is Rising Sun Kick. So this reduces the cooldown of Rising Sun Kick or Rushing Wind Kick by 9 seconds, which is insane. So let's just keep that in mind. And then finally, Expel Harm transfers 25 additional healing into damage, and then creates a Chi Cocoon for about 1 million. Really good if teams are targeting you. Outside of that, really wouldn't worry about it. The 2 I'm going to be using most of the time Thunder Focus Tea on is Enveloping Mist and Rising Sun Kick or Rushing Wind Kick. So a lot of the times I mentioned I'm not really casting a lot, right? I'm not really not casting. Most of my healing comes from my kicks and with the modifiers. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put my hots out. I'm going to put my Renewing Mist out, my Zen Sphere out. And then from here, if there's kicks available, I'll go for maybe a Thunder Focus Tea Enveloping Mist. So they get the 40% buff, and then I'm going to go for a kick. So I kick, it consumes a charge, and then I'll go for another kick. And then I get 1 more, right? So I have 3 kicks in a row, which is just amazing, right? So let's put that in mind. Keep that in mind. I have all my modifiers out. I have my Renewing Mist, my Enveloping Mist, right? I Thunder Focus. I Mana Tea, Thunder Focus Tea, right? Because Enveloping Mist does cost some mana. And then I Enveloping Mist and then kick. You pretty much just kick whenever you can. And then obviously whatever buff you get from Tea of Plenty can change that. So that can be new. So if I Thunder Focus Tea, I say I got to kick and Enveloping Mist, which is, this is like, this combo right here, Enveloping Mist, kick, this is like the GOAT. This is like the buff that you want to see. So you can go for an Enveloping Mist. So you get the 40% buff, and then you could just kick 2 times in a row, right? And then you get the cooldown reductions. I only use Thunder Focus Tea really for kicks or Enveloping Mist. If there's kicks available, I'll use my Enveloping Mist, or if I get like the Tea of Plenty, I'll use my Enveloping Mist, and then from there, it's pretty much just using kicks, right? Because on top of the healing it does about, it does over 1 million damage baseline. So you're helping with pressure as well with your rushing wind kick on top of all the healing you're doing. Finally, let's weave in the last part of our rotation that we want to worry about, and that's Chi-Ji. So Chi-Ji, like I mentioned at the start of the video, it got a buff, nerf, whatever you want to call it. All right, it was definitely a buff for PvE. PvP, I actually think, oh man, it actually feels like a nerf. But this is just a strong cooldown. Chi-Ji's just good. Not else to say about it. Now, if you can, right? Very unlikely. You could try to Tiger Palm for like 2 stacks of Teaching the Monastery. And if you can do that, then you're in a good spot because you can get an instant Enveloping Mist. Now, in the perfect world, that happens. It's not going to happen. A lot of times you're going to be using Chi-Ji when you leave CC or when your team's low. You're not going to have time to do it. So what you're going to do is you're going to press Chi-Ji with Thunder Focus Tea and kick. That's your goal, is to kick as many times as you can. Maybe if someone's close, get a blackout kick. So just assume I have all my modifiers out. Like, let's just assume I have my Renewing Mist, my Enveloping Mist, and my Zen Sphere out. All right, let's just assume that. All right. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to Chi-Ji and Thunder Focus Tea, because Thunder Focus is off the GC. I'm going to kick. I'm going to try to go for a blackout kick, and then I'm going to kick again, and then I get an instant Enveloping Mist. And then it's pretty much the same thing. You can kick, and then blackout kick, and then sadly you don't get like that extra stacks of Chi-Ji anymore because of the change to the rushing wind kick with Chi-Ji. So it's kind of unfortunate. What Chi-Ji is now is you're kicking up more mastery healing. So what you're ideally trying to get as many kicks as possible, because rushing wind kick heals with mastery, right? Kicks up mastery from Crane style, which is really good. You're just going to have less Enveloping Mists. That's pretty much it. I think ideally you could probably get like 1 or 2 instant Enveloping Mists depending on how close you are to the enemy team. But there's a good chance you're only going to get 1, right? Like, again, assume I have my modifiers up on these guys over here, on my teammates. If you Chi-Ji, Thunder Focus Tea, kick, blackout kick, that's 1. And then from there, I mean, it's tough. You'd have to start with blackout kick stacks, right? There's my blackout kick. I get an instant Enveloping Mist here. And then you could go for maybe another Thunder Focus Tea into a blackout kick, into another kick. But even then, so I just used both my Thunder Focus Tea charges. And what I did is I Thunder Focus Tea, kicked, blackout kick, rushing wind kicked, got an instant Enveloping Mist, and then I pressed Thunder Focus Tea again to see if I got more buffs from rushing wind kick. It's too much now. I think it's like, to be fair, it was easy before. It was really easy before. But essentially, what your healing is going to come from mastery and not your Enveloping Mist anymore. I don't know. It's not overhealing, isn't tracking everything. But all right, so let's just go through the full rotation. I'm going to go through what I would do if someone was taking damage and go through my cooldown. So always put statue down. Statue is really important. Always make sure you get a port down too to help you avoid CC. From here, what I'm trying to do is I'm just trying to keep Renewing Mist on everybody. You know, that's for Chi Harmony buff and just for the HOTS, especially from Invigorating Mist, that spread healing. And if someone's going to start taking damage, what's going to happen is if there's kicks available, I'll normally go for like a Thunder Focus Tea. I'm hoping for a Thunder Focus Tea and I get a Tea of Plenty Enveloping Mist is what I'm hoping for. Now, you could also cast Enveloping Mist. If your teammates are healthy, you could also just go for an Enveloping Mist, which ideally you would. So Renewing Mist is out. Zen Sphere's up. I'm going to put Renewing Mist out, get Enveloping Mist. First, I'm going to Mana Tea. First, let's do a Mana Tea. We want to make sure that we're healthy on mana. And then I'm going to go for an Enveloping Mist. And then from there, it's just Thunder Focus Tea. See what I get. You can get an Enveloping Mist out with your Mana Tea up. And then I'm just kicking. the whole time. You could reapply your Zen Sphere between the rushing wind kicks, and then just make sure you keep your renewing mist up as well to get that 25% extra healing. And that's pretty much the main rotation. You're hotting, modifiers, kicking. And then let's say I have Chi-Ji. I want to, trade out my Chi-Ji. I'm going to assume most of the time you're not going to be able to get blackout kicks. Most of the time, I would say. I'm going to keep my renewing mist up. I'll reapply my Zen Sphere if I have to. Mana Tea, probably go for probably a Thunder Focusing Envelop Mist if there's kicks, and then Chi-Ji, and then kick. That's pretty much what I'm doing. Just kick, kick, kick. You're going to need one blackout kick, Envelop Mist, Thunder Focus Tea again if you have to. Reapply your Zen Sphere during the global of Rushing Wind Kick. Go for it again, and that's what you're trying to do. I think it's really important during, when your Thunder Focus Tea and your Rushing Wind Kick, and you have the reduced cooldown on your Rushing Wind Kick, it's very important to fill those globals with spells. So this is a tip that has helped me, and hopefully this will help you improve at Rushing Wind Kick. What my weakness when I was learning Rushing Wind Kick is I was Thunder Focus Tea Rushing Wind Kicking, and then I was just waiting for that to come back. Right? I was just waiting. I was just hoping for Rushing Wind to come back. What you need to do between your Rushing Wind Kick cooldowns is to fill that with usefulness and useful spells. So, for example, what I would normally do is I would go for a Thunder Focus Tea, Rushing Wind Kick, and then disarm. And then you disarm somebody, or you reapply your Zen Sphere during the Rushing Wind Kick cooldowns. Or you go for an incap on a healer and then kick, roll away, reposition and kick. So try to get in that habit. And for me, I just think of it like just weaving in spells to your kick, pretty much, just alternating. I use a Rushing Wind Kick global, and then I use a Zen Sphere to reapply. Even if it's just to reapply it, that's really good. And then what I'll do is I will Rushing Wind Kick again, and then maybe I'll go for an incap, and I'll Rushing Wind Kick again, and then maybe I'll go for a sweep. You know what I mean? Hopefully that makes sense. That's what's helped me improve at Rushing Wind Kick, rather than having dead globals and not pressing buttons. Next up are macros, and I love macros. I love them so much. I will try to talk about as much as I can. I really don't do anything fancy. I have a lot of Arena 1, 2, 3 macros, so these are all my macros for Arena 1, 2, 3 paralysis. So Arena 1, 2, 3. I also have the same thing for grapple weapon, for clash, and for kick. And I want you to know that this might not work for some people, and that is fine. Everyone's different when it comes to how they play the game, how they think about the game. A lot of people just use focus macros, and that would help me with all of my button bloat, which would be fantastic. That doesn't work for me. It's not how my brain works. I need to have organized 1, 2, 3. I also have self Tiger's Lust and party 1, 2 Tiger's Lust, which is really important. Don't sleep on Tiger's Lust. Really, really good for helping your melee. Saves you with Dispel as well if it's a Frost Nova. So that's what it works for me. I use a lot of Arena 1, 2, 3 macros. I have an at cursor statue macro right here. So and same with the Ring of Peace. It's just at my cursor. I don't need to click it a second time. Those are two primary ones. Those are pretty much 90% of the macros I use. Outside of that, Life Cocoon stop casting macro for juking, so you can Soothing Mist, and just stop casting over and over again, which is really good. I'm trying to think of anything else I might be... Crackling Jade Lightning. So this is... I made a video on this just because it's so important. This is my all-in-one Crackling Jade Lightning targeting macro. And what it does is, if you're targeting somebody that's targeting an enemy, it's going to use Crackle on them. If you're targeting an enemy, it's going to use Crackle on them. And if you're targeting yourself, it's going to use Crackle on the enemy. So you don't need to... You essentially don't need to be targeting an enemy to do Crackle. So I'm going to see. So this Demon Hunter is targeting this guy. I should be able to just Crackle. See, I'm not targeting Kelp Fist. I'm not targeting this thing at all. I'm targeting my Demon Hunter. But because he's targeting an enemy, I cast Crackle on them. So really, really important macro. I'll put that in the description as well. These don't really have... These are mouse overs. Taunt macro right here. This is for taunting pets. With the CC changed, I actually haven't been able to taunt too many CC. So it's kind of annoying. Party 1 and 2 dispels is really important. I'm trying to think of anything else I might be missing. I don't think I'm missing anything. Oh, this is... Where's my thing? Is this it? No. There should be right here. So this is another really good. This is a Zen Sphere macro where, similar to my Crackling Jade Lightning macro, if I'm targeting an enemy, if I'm targeting a teammate and they're targeting an enemy, I should put a sphere of despair on them, and I ping it. So that's a new addition for this macro, is I will ping it, because in shuffle and in blitz, I do sometimes play, you know, Zen spheres and blitz, but mostly in shuffle, it just helps me tell my team like this is who we're targeting and hopefully spam ping. But so I'm targeting this demon hunter who's targeting Kelp Fist. I put Zen sphere out. It uses it on the enemy that I'm targeting and then pings. And then also if I'm targeting an enemy, it'll use Zen sphere on them. So that's pretty much it. Nothing, you know, that macro is really good for like uptime, because when Zen sphere first came out, my uptime on it was abysmal. It was like 20% uptime, like buff uptime and debuff uptime. So now I have it like pretty close to 100%. I think most games I have about 90% uptime, just because sometimes it drops on CC, but that's pretty good. No, that's this macro is a shout out to Harambe, because sometimes his tyrant gets slowed or rooted. And so I actually have a macro to target Demonic Tyrant that will Tiger's Lust it. Yep, it's very sad. Cracked Lightning. Oh, and then Life Cocoon, of course. This is like my signature Life Cocoon macro. So this makes it so you won't accidentally Life Cocoon somebody that is like mind controlled or dead, right? So in BG Blitz, has there ever been a time in BG Blitz or RBGs where you're about to Life Cocoon somebody and then they die and then you Life Cocoon yourself? This will never happen. Or if someone mind controls your target and then you Life Cocoon and then you Life Cocoon yourself. Nope. This will prevent all of that. So as long as somebody that's your teammate is not dead, exists, and is a teammate, you will press Life Cocoon. You see how I press Life Cocoon right there? I'm not targeting anybody. I'm spamming my Life Cocoon macro. And I'm not using Life Cocoon on myself. That's going to prevent that. But as soon as I target an ally, boom, Life Cocoon. The last macros I would highly recommend are these damage macros. So there was one for Blackout Kick. There's one for Rushing Wind Kick, if I can find it. Where are you? Don't hide from me, right here. I think it's this. It's definitely this one right here. Rushing Wind Kick, and then there's one for Tiger Palm. So what these macros do is they allow you to use these spells without actually having to target somebody. Let me show you on these dummies what these do. So I'm going to Tiger Palm this enemy right here. Tiger Palm, and then let's just say I have to swap to a teammate, right, to use Enveloping Mist. So this guy's taking damage. I'm going to Thunder Focus Team Enveloping Mist here. All I need to do is I need to just keep doing damage. I'm still targeting my teammate here, but I'm doing my full damage rotation. I'm literally Tiger Palming, I'm Blackout Kicking, all of that, and I'm still targeting my teammate. So these macros, of course, linked in the description as well. I think all my macros are in the description, but I'll link these for sure. These macros are really important for, especially if you have to fist weave more with Chi-Ji up. The best comps for hybrid really are just double melee comps, because you're able to stay in range, you're able to do damage and provide support for them, and of course do damage. So I would say Turbo, TSG, Ret Warrior. Those are probably your top 3 comps right now, I would say. That's not to say though, hybrid is really good into pet classes. So if you're queuing into like BM Hunter, Demo Warlock, and Holy DK, you know, Rushing Wind Kick is good into all of them too. So if I would say play any comp that, you know, you have your main teammates with. If I'm queuing into one of those comps, it doesn't matter what I'm playing, I'm probably going to hybrid. But your absolute best comps like S tier comps, Turbo, TSG, Ret Warrior. If you want to play with casters, I've played hybrid with Mage Lock, with Demo Ellie. So any tanky specs that can stay alive when you get CC'd, because remember, you're going to be a little bit closer to the action, you're going to get CC'd a little bit more. So you're going to want to play with specs that can keep you alive or help you get out of CC, right? Ret is really good with Sank. Shaman are really good with Tremor. Stuff like that. Even Shadow Priest isn't terrible because they have Master Spell. So any classes like that are super tanky or can help you, you know, with some utility, get your crowd control, is amazing, and that we're going to help you when you're playing hybrid. And that is it for me. Hopefully this was helpful for anyone who is new to hybrid or even experienced. I'm hoping somebody learned something from this video, and that is it for me. Hope everyone has a fantastic rest of your day. Hope you enjoy the video, and I'll see you later. I think I disarm this. Stunned. A lot of healing. And then I crack on top of it. So the healing's less, but like you do more damage, you know? Manatee here. Ultimate Penance. A lot of damage here. Oh my god, this feels like so much weaker. Might get feared here. Trap 2. Kukunyu? Oh my dear lord. Sweep. Some warrior here too. I have a Shaylin's Gift. Taunt pet here. I think I got the taunt. What? I have to trinket this. Shaylin's Gift here. Shaylin feels pretty good with it though. Big damage here. A lot of healing. A lot of damage. Turtle. Okay. Okay. Windwalker has Karma really soon, but next CC chain's like kind of rough. Ooh, this is Serenity with thing. Oh, I'm trying to dodge his fear. I need to dodge his fear so hard. Actually, I'm going to sweep both of them. Incap Priest full. Kill, 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 kill. I do so much damage. Holy, I feel like I was doing so much damage. See? Oh my. I'm playing checkers. This guy's playing chess, huh? I'm just going to Shaylin's Gift here and just kick everything. Bang this guy. Oh. This guy's playing Serenity with Conduit. And just absolutely cranking. Spear. I'm going to disarm during the spear. Maybe Rop him as well. Wait, can we just kill him? Oh my god, this prot warrior just... Okay. Alright, so ready? If I Chi-Ji and Thunder Focus Tea and I kick right now, I don't get an instant Enveloping Mist anymore. You have to go in and like blackout kick. And then Rushing Wind kick again, and then you get the instant Enveloping Mist. Which, again, for PvE, that's really good. Because you're already Fist Weaving. So, like, that's good. But for PvP, I don't think you have time for that. You know? This poor priest is probably like so sad right now. Dispel. I don't have to spell. I dispel now. Crackle here.